Hey guys, it's me, Shawl360, and I have a haul here. But before I get started with the haul, I want to give a shout out to the Jenny Lee. She did some really great videos about 2 weeks ago. One was hashtag K-pop love letters. The other one was just a general kind of reaching out video discussing kind of her struggles and offering to be kind of a sounding board or a listening ear for somebody who's struggling themselves. And I thought they were wonderful videos, but they didn't really get a lot of attention, or at least the attention that I think they deserved. So I'm putting a link down in the description box below so you guys can check them out. Leave her some positive feedback, maybe take the initiative and try using the hashtag. But yeah, I just really love that she decided to do it, and definitely anytime I can encourage positivity, that's what I want to do. So this is kind of my positive note of the video. So rather than doing something at the end, I'm doing it right now. But I just love her. I think she's a really lovely person. She's so interesting, and I was subscribed to her well before I ever had a YouTube channel of my own. So I definitely encourage you guys to check her out because she is an inspiration for me, and I really like what she has to say in regards to the subject matter in those two videos. But now that I've got the positivity taken care of, let's get into these albums. So I have here EHI's First Love, which was her debut release, and then I have EHI's Soulite, which is her follow-up. This was released in 2013. Her follow-up was recently released in 2016. And then I have Act Young Musician. I have their debut album, which is Play. This was released in 2014. And then I have their follow-up, which I believe is Coming of Age. It's got a Korean title, but I think it translates to Coming of Age. And this one was released in 2016 as well. Now, if you are new to my channel, you may not know this, but I kind of have a troubled history with Papa YG. I really don't like him as a person because of the kind of neglect I feel like he gives his artist. And for the longest time, Lehigh and Act Young Musician were at the top of my list of artists that I felt neglected. They had brilliant debuts. Like, these two albums here are like the building blocks for any really great K-pop collection because there's classic songs on there, great production value, really talented vocalist on all of the songs, so it's definitely worth listening to. And these debuts were so good that years later, people were still waiting for these artists to come back. And I can never pinpoint why it was that YG wouldn't be more forthcoming with material for them, especially because in the interim we've gotten sporadic releases. Like, EHI has been featured on people's albums. Her and the little girl from Act Young Musician, they did a song together with Bobby from iKON. And then Act Young Musician, they've done some OST work, I believe. They did a commercial for Bingsu, and they also did like a children's song for National Hangul Day, and it was Ganada, a really cute song. You should check it out. I'll try to put a link down in the description box. But yeah, other than a couple of appearances here and there, they haven't released any big material. So yeah, when I heard that they were having comebacks, because I don't really trust YG like that, I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, he finally showed and proved, and now we have comebacks. We have EHI's Soulite, and we have Act Young Musicians. What I think is translated to is Coming of Age, and I'm really excited for it. So it's either Coming of Age or Coming of Age Ceremony, something like that. But anyway, I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait to talk about it because I love these artists, and I think that anybody who is maybe new to K-pop and doesn't understand why people would wait so long for them, let me fill you in. So let's start first with Lehigh First Love. For those of you who don't know, Lehigh was discovered on one of those like K-Star, K-Singer shows. It was her, Michelle Lee, Jimin Park, like big names were on her season, and she was definitely one of the standouts. She didn't win. I think Jimin Park won, and she ended up going to YG, was part of 15 and. But EHI definitely made a big impression on everybody because for such a young girl, she had at the time what seemed to be a very mature sound, definitely a very unique sound. So she decided to sign with YG, and her initial group she was going to be in was a group called Supearls. It was going to be her, two other girls from the show, and Michelle Lee. And then YG decided to drop Supearls, everyone except for Lehigh, and then shortly after that announcement, he came out with First Love. Now, for me, when I first heard this album several years ago, I remember enjoying this album quite a bit. but I don't think I listened to it very much in the years in between. So when I picked up Soullight, I had decided to order a physical copy of First Love just to have it in my collection, and I decided to go ahead and listen to it again because it had been a while. And now that time has passed and I've heard Lehi, the way she sounds now and the way she sounded then, there's a couple of things that really stand out to me with this album. Number one, Lehi sounds super young on this album, which is crazy because at the time people always said she had such a big voice for such a little girl, and I can definitely hear the youth and the kind of immaturity in her voice. But another thing that I really noticed about this album is that this album sounds a lot like it was made for Sue Pearls. There's a lot of places in the songs where I could see where different voices could have been utilized. Definitely some places where Lehi, it sounds kind of like she filled in the blank. And I think that's what adds to the very youthful sound of this. This is still an amazing album. It's still very well done, and she still has that very unique, distinctive tone of voice that she uses even now. However, her transitions from, verses to chorus are a little immature. Definitely the way she inserts her runs in the bridge are not as effortless and elegant as they are on Soullight. And then just her general voice, you can tell that her confidence level was the confidence level of a young girl. And now she sounds like a woman, and so it was interesting to take that kind of look back at her style and see where it started at and where it's gone. And this is lovely packaging. I remember seeing a lot of unboxings of this, but not owning one, and thinking, wow, this is really, really beautiful. Now, I got the Korean press version. I bought this from Catch Up CD. Here is the track list here. Hopefully you guys can see it because my camera's being really awful right now. Nope, it's not going to cooperate. Oh, there you go. Good track list, and it looks kind of like a Tiffany box. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a Tiffany box. It's got this CD sitting here on the top. I don't know why they did this. This just seems so insecure. I just don't understand why they did this. But, that's neither here nor there. It's got a really cute design on it. You can kind of see it a little bit better. And then you have the photo book. Now, the photo book has the track list on the back. And inside, you've got these really pretty images of this young woman who's kind of got a style that transitions between kind of maturity and very young. There's a very kiddish look right there, but then this is a slightly more mature look. But definitely there was a lot of emphasis on her youth in this album to kind of maybe create a little kind of maybe dissonance between the fact that she looks so young and is so young but has such a mature sound. But yeah, definitely everything about this speaks of youth. And it's called First Love, so definitely a young effort. Let me put this back. But with that release, she definitely built a legend for herself. After that, people were like, when's the next release coming out? We want it, give it to us, make it happen. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And finally she came out with Soullight. And with Soullight, so much has changed for this girl. Seriously, it's freaking night and day. First of all, her stages for Soullight, she's so much more confident in stages. I remember the first win I think she had for First Love. She was totally surprised, didn't expect to win. And she was frozen on stage, didn't know what to do. And I think at the time SHINee was promoting, they danced with her to try to get her to loosen up because she was so nervous. So yeah, when I think about that and think about who this lady is, definitely she's done a lot of growing up through the years. Track list wise, we've got another really deep, wonderful track list. But unlike the track list for First Love, I don't feel like anybody's missing here. I feel like, she could have done these songs by herself, but the fact that she decided to have rappers added to some of the music, I think that didn't take away from anything, but they weren't necessarily needed either, because she definitely sounds like she's holding her own. Definitely her transitions are better. Like I said, her runs, they fit better. The way she weaves in and out of the rappers as they're performing on the songs, I thought it was really on point. But there's just a confidence to her, a real confidence to her that I love. Another thing that I really love about this album, and it's something that I will touch on a little bit with Act On Musician, is I love how much this album sounds like Lehi's life. The title is Soullight. So Lehi is one of these kids that grew up in the city, has always been a part of the city, and the city has influenced her style. So you've got this kind of fantastical rendering of a city, because obviously this is not like, you know, a true to life portrait. This is a lot of graphic images kind of layered, and things made bigger and things made smaller, things out of proportion, of course. But you've got this fantastical image of the Seoul city as Lee sees it, and her sound is reflective of the city as she's lived the experience as a native of Seoul. I think that kicks ass. I think that's so cool. And one thing about this album is that I don't necessarily feel like the lead singles for this album really speak a lot to the way this album sounds, because this album is like really hip hop, like super hip hop, but none of the songs where she has rappers featured were lead singles. Instead, YG went back to the kind of doo-woppy singles that he did for First Love. And I get it. The public's been waiting. That was the sound they fell in love with. You want to give them more of what they like. I think that My Star would have been a better debut song than Breathe and Hold My Hand. I don't have a problem with Breathe and Hold My Hand, but with Breathe, I feel like a lot of her vocal texture was a little bit missing from that one, as she was trying to fit into Jongyun's mold. And with Hold My Hand, I like it, but the tempo is a little bit slower than My Star, and I think when you're coming out with something for the first time, you kind of need to kick up the tempo a little bit. But the rest of the songs on here, they're mad hip-hop, and it's not like this is coming out of nowhere, because the very first song on First Love is like one of those hip-hop say my name type songs. So, I mean, this is who she is, but I think that that is a side of Lee that YG should bring out more to the public and let that be known. But that's just my personal argument. But yeah, as a girl who grew up in Seoul City, you know, you've got this mix of the classical and the modern and the European and the international. And I love how all of that is featured in the graphic art, and all of that is featured in her songs. She uses really liberal amounts of English. Like, every song for the most part has a lot of English in it, and I love it because she sounds so comfortable. Like, it doesn't sound stilted. It doesn't even sound like it's English just for the fun of it. Like, it sounds like she uses it for a reason, because maybe that's the way she talks. Maybe like in real life she does sprinkle a lot of English in the things that she says, because Seoul is an international city. They've got people from all around the world, and English is kind of an international language. But you've got that, you've got ballad sounds, but you've got a lot of kind of hip-hop sounds. Hip-hop is a sound that's very associated with urban areas, and the city is urban, so it just makes a lot of sense. Like, everything about this really does meld well together. And then you can see the BTS hot air balloon, so I'm assuming that Lee is an army. Just kidding. But it comes with this poster, and this poster is... I actually really think this poster is cute. I would never hang it on my wall, but I think it's really cute. So you've got Ihai showing lots of leg in her big girl shoes, you know, definitely giving you the I've matured look. And then on the back you have this beautiful kind of fantastic made up panorama of Seoul, and I just think it's so awesome. This is one of those times when I really wish I had taken like a Korean cultures course or something, because there's a lot of Easter eggs in these images, a lot of things that are made big and things that are made tiny, and unless you're more familiar with Seoul and its history, I don't think they would maybe stand out to you as much. But again, it speaks to her experience. Then you've got the photo book here. And in this photo book, along with some of these more fantastical images, we have a lot of images of her definitely looking like the grown-up woman that she is. You've got portraits from the different video shoots. Then you've got some other like individual photos that she took that I guess weren't in the videos. And then it comes with these two Polaroids, which shouts out to Pamela M. She did her unboxing, and she talked about the fact that these Polaroids are actually printed backwards. I guess if you had like a real life Polaroid, the image would be right here, and then like the framing would be there, and then this kind of like 3D kind of puffy looking part would be the back, because that's where like the processing powder sits. I totally would have never caught that. So good catch, Pamela. That was really awesome. But yeah, that's everything I have to say about Ihai Soulite. I hope you guys will pick it up. It's definitely worth getting. If I had to choose between getting Soulite or getting First Love, It really depends on where you are in terms of like how long you've been listening to K-pop. Like if you've been listening to K-pop for a number of years, like a long time, and you're familiar with Lehigh, but you are trying to decide which one you should get to add to your collection, I definitely think you should get First Love because it's just a K-pop classic. But if you're new to Lehigh, maybe you just started listening to K-pop in the last year, get So Light. It is definitely going to be worth your while. It's very contemporary, but it still has a lot of the timeless sound that Lehigh uses in her previous music. So yeah, those would be my recommendations. I'm not pleased about the fact that this flap won't go down. Sufa, you knew me. I hate that. But yeah. Other than that, I think that they're both quality investments. You really can't go wrong with either one. Now on to Akdong Musician. This is another group that YG picked up on one of these reality singing shows. In fact, I think this was like the next year, maybe. And Akdong Musician, when they first agreed to sign with YG, a lot of people were shocked because their sound on the television show just didn't really match what people think about when they think of YG. And I'm sure some of y'all are thinking, well, Lehigh's sound doesn't really remind me of YG. There's a lot of hip-hop in these two albums. So, you know, if that's what Lehigh likes, then I could see why she would like YG, because probably as a kid in the city she grew up on the sounds of YG. But Akdong Musician, they have a much more folksy, jazzy, kind of acoustic based sound to them. They grew up kind of all over the world. They lived in a lot of rural areas. They're just very quirky and kind of hipsterish. So when they first chose YG, a lot of people didn't get it. But I think that kind of made for such a perfect project for them, because in a lot of ways YG's producers had to really rethink their approach to things. And I think their kind of slick production sounds matched with the very raw, kind of earthy tones and themes that Akdong uses really made sense, and it really produced something that's like so unique and cuts across so many borders. Like, I could never say that this is a straight up folk album. I wouldn't say this is even necessarily a K-pop album. This is just a good, well-written kind of pop album. Like, everything that makes pop, that's what this is, but it's also so much richer. So I bought this copy from eBay. I bought it used. You can tell that it's got some marks here and there, but I also think that's kind of cool that I got it used, because it lets me talk about one of my least favorite things in all of K-pop packaging, these freaking clear slip covers. Oh, do I hate these things. Like, first of all, look how cloudy that looks. Because no matter how gently you treat your album, over time, as it kind of rubs up against other albums, it's like a window. It gets smudges, but unlike a glass window, you can't get the smudges off, because those smudges are actually scratches. And I hate that. I hate that about these things. I've never liked it, and I wish that people would quit using these for packaging. But underneath that is actually some really great packaging, and I think it works really well with like everything that's inside of this album. So underneath that is this right here, which I don't know if you could tell, but it's a canvas print. It's the photographs printed on canvas, and it's a canvas wrapped album. There's the track list there. And like these pictures, they're very kind of rustic. They remind you of kind of childhood, but not like little kid childhood. And the way that they're dressed is very timeless. It's almost like a fairy tale in a way, because everything's so classic, but it doesn't kind of speak of any particular period of time. It comes with these stickers, which you can see, they're stickers. It also comes with the YG audition paperwork. This is the CD, and this kind of woodcut illustration look is throughout the CD as well. It's got this really quirky Akdong Musician logo, which is the same one that they'll use on this album. But when you look inside of the actual album itself, the font that they use is a very classic, like Times New Roman font. Can we talk about this pop-up for a minute? Isn't that the most darling thing you've ever seen? I love the pop-up, and it's done so economically. Like, okay, look, this is the pop-up right here. That's as much space as it takes in the whole album. It hardly takes any room at all. Why don't more people do pop-ups? Like, it should be a thing. In K-pop, that should be a thing. And then inside you've got more of this classic woodcut, more of the classic fonts, and you've got all these images of just two kids kind of traipsing about the wood, having adventures, and You know, it's everything very nostalgic and wonderful, and their sound is that way too. I think that's a part of the reason why Akdong was so successful, because they had a style of music that didn't just speak to young people their age, but it spoke to older people. There is a little bit of rapping here and there, but for the most part, when they do a ballad, the ballads are heartbreaking. When they do soft songs, they definitely provide a very nice, pleasant ambiance, kind of coffee shop-ish. And then when they're doing kind of quirky, fun songs, you just feel the love that this brother and sister have for each other and the love they have for the music that they're producing. And I just really think that everybody should own this. Everybody should own this. It's just, I'll tell you right now, before I even get into this one, this is nice. You should own this. Like, whether you're new to K-pop or you've been in K-pop forever, before you buy Coming of Age Ceremony, buy Play. Buy Play. It is just by far one of the best albums ever produced for K-pop, and it's amazing that it came out of YG, because this is so not YG's style, but it's perfection. Now we have this one, which is Akdong Musician's Coming of Age Ceremony. This is the front. This is the back. You can see the track list on the little, I don't know what you'd call this. What is this? This waist trainer that this album's got on. Anyway, yeah, there's the track list there. Now, this track list is not as deep. Their debut, Akdong Musician's debut, was a full album. This is like 6 songs, but you know what? It's okay, because it's still that same kind of classic, timeless sound that Akdong Musician has always used. Very jazzy, still some folk elements. And then concept-wise, I love the way that they did this, because from the outside, this looks like a grammar book, kind of, doesn't it? I mean, to me it does. And then it's got the Akdong logo there, and then you got the back. But then when you open it up, it's got this really cute color scheme. It's got these kind of graphic paper, I don't know if you can see that little graphic paper details on it, even on the back of the poster. Then the poster, this is the poster, and again, a very timeless kind of old school, children at school kind of, I don't know, it almost reminds me of like old propaganda posters, and I'm not saying propaganda in a negative way, but you know, like how the government will put out posters talking about our young people are headed off to a new horizon. Like, this looks like that. Like, all you need is like new horizon, graduate high school. That needs to be written on here. And then you've got the bookmark here, because this is a book, so why not have a bookmark? And the bookmark has got both the track list on there, and then it also indicates which 2 were the title songs on here. Then you have this, which is kind of like a little mini comic book, which is really cool, because if you're in school, you could tuck your comic book inside your book and be looking at that when the teacher thinks you're actually paying attention to the lesson. It comes with like this kind of coloring activity book, which for me was very nostalgic, because who doesn't love a coloring book? And then you've got, ooh, I'm making a mess here. Then you've got this, which is the actual photo book for the album itself. It's got such a cool texture. It's got this kind of ribbed texture, which I don't know why they chose this, but I just think it feels really cool. It's a relatively thin photo book, but with all these other extras you have in there, you don't need a thick photo book. And inside, it's got some more of these kind of school looks, very classical. You know, I just really love this. I just love their aesthetic. I think that everything they're doing is just on point. And I love that their sound and their image match who they are. It matches their age group. It matches kind of their interests. Everything about them speaks very genuine, and that's part of the reason why people have held on to the hope for their comeback for so long, because even though they're a YG product, and even though his production team made sure all the songs were very polished and, you know, very professional, at the end of the day, there's a lot of heart to Akdong Musician, and that's what keeps the fans waiting for 2-3 years at a time. And then you have the CD right here and this pretty kind of background for it. So yeah, that's my unboxing of these 4 albums. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I have to say, I feel like this took way longer than it needed to be, because I had so much to say about these groups, but there's nothing but love when it comes to me and Akdong Musician and Lehigh. I just think that they've earned all of the devotion that they've gotten from fans over the years as we waited and waited and waited for YG to have a comeback for them. And I really hope that we don't have to wait another 2 or 3 years for these groups. But with Akdong Musician, though, I feel like we are going to have to wait, because apparently the brother is going into the military relatively soon, which I can't believe that he's going into the military before Big Bang does. That like makes no sense to me, but whatever. But yeah, he's going to the military soon, and YG and his track record when it comes to women, I don't know if his sister's going to release anything in that time. Yehai, I'm hoping that maybe with the relative success of Soullight, that maybe YG will be encouraged to put out more stuff for her. But then again, she is a woman, and YG and girls, you know. In fact, right now he's introducing his latest girl group, and I've already talked to a couple of my friends on Google Hangout, but like I really feel like if this girl group is like 4 girls, I'm going to be so offended. Like for real, if it's 4 girls, like I'm going to feel some kind of a way about it. But I don't know yet. YG hadn't told me. And like I've said before, seeing is believing when it comes to YG. I don't believe a word out of his mouth until I see it on somebody's screen. So until the next time, I will talk to you all later. Bye.